The cow business has been good to you.
It has.
I wish you was young enough where me and you could start all over again.
Oh, I don't know. God
I don't
damn.
think I could follow your footsteps.
I don't think that we'd like what's going to be the next 50 years, next 100 years.
Well,
I imagine
tell me
that we're better
politically,
that
let's get into
we're
that for just a
old,
minute.
huh?
Let's get into it just a minute politically, what you see is coming in the next 50 years. I asked you what you'd do if you was president, and you never did answer me.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to come. It'll all depend upon our government, which isn't worth a goddamn.
That's right.
They're going to fill this country with people. I mean, they'll fill it to where South Bryce is just like California or New York City or some damn place. And when they get it like that, I don't want to be around.
I don't either.
I don't like people near that well.
I don't either.
And I don't know. I think about my grandkids and
what they're going to have to face.
Of what they've got to face. And Jack's got two of the sweetest, nicest little girls. One's a senior this year, and one's a couple of years behind him. And then my great-grandson has smartest little boy, he's 3 years old, and I'm damn sure I think you ought to be interviewing him if you don't know something. He can sing songs, he knows all the words, Amarillo by morning, all of that kind of stuff.
Strait.
Has a guitar and he plays at it, and he's a cowboy. And he wouldn't go to school unless they'd let him wear his spurs. She had him going to little school.
Yeah.
And he lives in Houston. And he just, first time he gets a chance, boy, he's in Clarendon. And he goes out there and stays with Chris. They saddle up a horse and get him to riding. He went with them to brand, and they put him in the corral beside the branding pen, just let him sit on his horse through the whole branding. And then they were loading cattle in trucks, and they put him over beside the loading chute. Boy, he loaded every one of those cattle out. He was putting them on that truck.
That's all right.
And he loves all that, and they've got.
Well, he's come by it in a bloodline.
I guess they've got a lot of land.
Well, let's get back to what we were talking about being the country in the next few years, and then on then what's going to happen. I mean, you're going to fill it up with people.
Well, I can't tell you the future.
Yeah, you can.
Because if we were to close up immigration, stop it. That would be the sensible thing to do.
Absolutely.
And I think that maybe people will sometime realize that's got to be done, but I don't. They're probably going to run this damn country before they get it done. Or they're going to move twice as many people as we have into it, or 3 times. Hell, those Mexicans were coming in here by droves.
Oh, I know.
Well, all through Obama's
administration
is wide open.
Yeah.
Hell, and you know, they kind of, Texas State tried to get a little tough on that.
Yeah.
And they had 2 damn guys down there that shot one of those dope peddlers in the ass with a shotgun.
Yeah, and then tried them for it.
They sent them both to the penitentiary.
Yeah.
Well, they should have shot him in the back of the head.
That's exactly right.
And if I ever shoot one, it won't be in the rear.
That's exactly right. I don't understand that at all.
Well, it just
See, when I first started policing, you could shoot a fleeing felon.
sure.
I mean, you know.
Anybody wouldn't holler when you wouldn't stop
That's
when
right.
you hauled halt.
That's right.
You
That's right.
you shot
could,
them.
Yeah, and then, you know, that changed. But now, even if a man's been shooting at you and takes off running and still got a gun, you can't shoot him anymore unless he brings his weapon to bear.
Well,
What's wrong with this country?
I would lie. I'd tell them you did bring
Well,
them
see,
to bear.
everybody's got one of them damn phones.
Well, I'd cut it off.
I'm talking about everybody's got one, Bill. Now, everybody's videoing the police.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll tell you that is what's bad. People are trying to run the police now.
yeah.
Well, women are not going to stand for any kind of violence.
No.
And
But the violence is going to find them.
and the colored people, I'll tell you, if they ever get a little short of being petted, they're going to start something.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
always have.
Yeah, they have been from Georgia, I know.
Yeah, and I know it too.
We got a pile of in Georgia. I mean, a pile of them.
Well, my granddaddy used to own a bunch of them. My great granddaddy. And
There's not many around.
they
this
tried to, when it was all over with. Well, he was sick when he came in, and he
Tuberculosis,
just turned all of his the slaves that he had loose, and they tried to help some of them get them
On the
farming
feet.
and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And some people did an awful lot because they weren't dead. But hell, my granddaddy had to just replace them by himself, and they didn't have any damn money. The
There's nothing we hire
carpetbaggers got everything in taxes. And I had an uncle that he didn't quit the Civil War when it was over. And they ran him around down there up and down the Sulphur River for about 8 years. And finally, they granted him amnesty if he'd come in before the court. So he was granted amnesty, sitting in the courtroom with 2 pistols busted on. And then they let him go.
Sure enough, they did.
Yeah, they stood up. Hell yeah, they knew better than to fuck with him.
Yeah,
They knew
yeah,
he'd kill him.
Yeah. That's right.
And they had there's several people that were down there in that neck of the woods that were doing that, and they all kind of
Got
helped
amnesty.
each other and stayed together.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what the Union Army did, cavalry. They came to one of my family's house and lined all the family out on the porch. And they had a little boy that was about 8 years, 5 to 8. I don't really know his age, but he was just a little boy about this tall. And this goddamn Union officer had quizzed them about my uncle that they were all chasing. And they wouldn't tell him a damn thing. And
Well, they
he
probably
grabbed
know,
that
Jay.
little boy. They took him out there and he said, "We'll hang this kid if you don't tell us where he is." And they never said a word. They put him on a goddamn horse and all got horseback, and they pitched a rope over that tree and tied it, and they ran off from him, and they broke his neck, but they didn't kill him. The folks ran out there and cut him down. And I saw that man twice in my life.
You saw him twice
He
in your
was
lifetime.
an old man, and he went around with his head laying on his shoulder, and I asked Dad, I said, "Daddy, what's wrong with that fella?" He told me. And I'll tell you what, boy, they were getting where they were beginning to really shoot them when
Yeah.
they decided to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And they did. They broke Texas, but they got out.
Yeah, they did. 5, 6 years after the war,
Yeah.
they finally got the hell out of here.
Yeah,
That was like that. The state rangers, you know, they took away the Texas Rangers and made a state police out of them while that carpetbagging damn governor was.
Yeah, they had him
You know.
running the show, and yeah, they did everything to do away with the
Oh, I
law,
know. Well,
and then
you
they
know-
got to see what the law could be.
Well,
Because
what Georgia did
those-
the same thing, you
those
know. But
damn
Sherman,
people down there in South Texas, boy, they shot the hell out of those
they
bastards.
did in South Georgia. But Sherman started in Atlanta and made a 60-mile wide strip
Yeah,
to
I
Savannah.
know it.
I mean, Georgia got it the worst out of any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they lived off the land, raped the women,
Yeah.
killed people. They just
Stole everything
stole
they
everything.
could,
Well,
drove
yeah, they
off
did.
all their
Yeah, they
cattle,
did.
and
Yeah,
that's
they
all
did.
they had to eat, nearly.
But we were getting back to the Depression. It was the country people that knew how to farm, that knew how to ranch, knew how to butcher cattle, didn't go hungry.
Well,
It
hell
was the people.
no.
It was the people in town.
That's right.
And if it happens again, if something happened in Amarillo, they're gonna come get what you got.
They
or try
will.
to.
They'll try to.
I mean, if they can't get it, they'll kill you for it.
Yeah,
I
they'll
mean-
try to. But, you know, both sides can do those things.
Exactly right.
But, yeah, they'll take everything that's living.
I mean,
But
what about?
but they're not going to starve. They've got to do something.
They got to do something.
And if they don't keep the population kind of regulated, well, we'll see that. Hell, China had it all
Yep.
the time for
Yep.
thousands of years.
Yep.
And those people would run out of anything to eat, even the country people, and they just all get together and go, and if somebody had something, they just ate it or took it or whatever they wanted to do.
What's gonna happen?
Well, I'll tell you what China did over 1,000 years ago. They had a great dope problem
Opium.
become. And what really worried them, it was the influential people that, you know, had been educated and had money and different stuff that were all taking the dope. And they passed a law that if you, I forgot what they used back then, it started with an M.
Machete.
No, I can't think of it. Anyway, they passed a law that if you were caught using or selling that stuff, it was a death penalty. Well, you know what the death was? They just grabbed them up, tied their hands behind them in the courthouse square, cut them wide open and whistled for the dogs, then let the dogs kill them.
Sure enough.
And I'll guarantee you they stopped the dope peddling in China
I imagine
in
they
less
did.
than a year.
I imagine they did.
It didn't even sound good to
They ain't
anybody.
even going. They wouldn't even come close. They either need to kill everybody that comes across that border in Texas, you know, or leave them alone. 'Cause I mean, one or the other.
Yeah.
That wall ain't gonna do no good. I mean,
Well, I'll tell you what I'd do if I was him. I'd line the National Guard
that's
up
exactly right.
down the river, a man as close as I wanted them. And I'd send Mexico a little radio message or television and
That's
tell
right.
them that we are closed the border
That's
in
right.
Texas.
That's right.
And anybody that steps out of that river onto
Texas
American
side.
land will be shot.
That's right.
And I'll guarantee you they wouldn't get to kill 10
That's
before
right.
it'd all be over with.
That's right. And we started it. I mean,
Hell yeah.
I mean, we started, the DEA shut down Florida because of all the money in South Florida.
Yeah.
The black peso economy, and you can go to Frontline, the PBS Frontline, they did a heck of a job on the black peso economy. The real estate values just went crazy. I mean, you know, the money was coming in. That's the reason if you over $10,000 at the bank automatically calls the DEA. You know, I mean, they call IRS and they call DEA. If you make a deposit in cash for $10,000 or more. I mean, you know, but they shut down Florida. I mean, and they used military to do it.
Yeah.
And really, what's that term for the military? Something constant, blah blah. Where they have to pass. There's a law passed that the United States cannot use their military against their own people. Well, there's a law name for that. But they were using AWACS planes. Hell, we knew everything that moved down there. Everything flew off that high desert in Boykia, all the boats. I mean, come on, you know. And they shut it down. Well, all the Colombians did was come up the isthmus.
Oh yeah.
Went overland, you know. And so we created the problem that we got on the border. I mean, the Mexicans are making all the money instead of the Colombians. I mean,
well, yeah.
it's just. And it's like
well, you know,
Rusty was talking about. The cartels done moved here. I mean, they're here. It's not like
we had, you know, we had a Bracero program. It worked great. We'd let those Bracero farm boys come up here, stay for a certain length of time. And I know at one time it was just in the fall of the year when they hand gathered cotton.
Yeah.
All right, there were thousands of them down there in Tahoka, where I was.
I grew up with that. They take cotton fields down there.
And when they closed up the Bracero program, and the wetbacks just started walking in.
Yeah.
People just kept using them. If
Yeah.
they'd have kept that program going, hell, it was working, and those people were glad to go home.
Yeah, they were.
And
You know,
they'd have all their money saved and
or they already had,
everything.
or already sent it back to them.
And I'll tell you what those son of bitchin' Mexicans were doing. These wetbacks that come up here, they'd get a bunch of money. They'd go home, they'd catch them at the border. If they did, they'd get every goddamn penny they had with them.
Yep.
And most of them would mail that money.
Yeah, that's right.
And they got it by that way, I guess, unless the postmaster got it.
Now they wire it.